top 12 anime where MC is kicked for being weak but turns out overpowered. Number 12. The healer who was banished from his party is, in fact, the strongest. I gave everything to my party, my time, my strength, my healing magic. Without me, they would have fallen countless times. Yet they only saw weakness in me, calling me useless. One day, they cast me out, claiming I was nothing but a burden. I wandered alone, broken at first, but then something inside me awakened. My healing wasn't ordinary. It could strengthen my body, sharpen my senses, and unleash devastating power. Training on my own, I began to defeat monsters that once terrified us. My hands, once meant only to mend wounds, now crushed enemies with unstoppable force. News spread quickly, and people looked at me not as a burden, but as a savior. When my former comrades begged to return, I realized I had already surpassed them. They abandoned me, thinking I was weak, but their betrayal became my greatest blessing. I wasn't just a healer anymore. I had become the strongest. Proof that even the overlooked can rise above all. Moving on to number 11. Number 11, The Strongest Tanks Labyrinth Raids, 2024. All I ever wanted was to protect my team. My role as a tank was simple: take the hits so others could shine. But no matter how much damage I absorbed, no matter how many times I saved them, they sneered at me. Too slow, too clumsy, too weak. Eventually, they abandoned me, believing I couldn't survive on my own. But the labyrinth taught me otherwise. Alone, I pushed deeper into its cursed halls, facing monsters stronger than anything we had ever seen. Blow after blow, I stood unyielding, my shield never faltering. With each battle, my endurance grew, until I realized I could withstand anything. I wasn't just a tank anymore, I was an unbreakable wall. Soon, even the labyrinth's deadliest beasts fell before me, their fangs and claws shattering against my defense. My so-called allies thought I would crumble without them, but it was me who had carried them all along. Now, as the strongest, I walk the labyrinth alone, unafraid, unstoppable, and unforgotten. Coming in at number 10. Number 10. Scooped up by an S-rank adventurer. I thought my life as an adventurer was over before it even began. My party mocked my weak skills, said I would never survive, and cast me aside. I had nowhere to go until fate intervened. An S-rank adventurer noticed me, not for my failures, but for my potential. They took me under their wing, teaching me the truth of strength. It wasn't about flashy spells or overwhelming power. It was about how you used what you had. Through training, discipline, and sheer willpower, I began to grow stronger, faster than I ever imagined. Enemies that once towered over me became manageable, and the fear that had haunted me turned into determination. For the first time, I wasn't treated as worthless. I wasn't alone anymore. I had someone who believed in me. From being abandoned to becoming a rising force, I proved my former comrades wrong. Weak? No. I was simply waiting for the right hand to lift me up, and now I'm unstoppable. Let's continue with number 9. Number 9. Even given the worthless appraiser class, I'm actually the strongest. When the gods granted me the appraiser class, I thought I had been cursed. My companions certainly believed it. They laughed at me, mocked my so-called useless ability, and abandoned me to die. But as I wandered alone, I discovered the truth. My gift wasn't weakness, it was insight. I could see hidden strengths, unravel mysteries, and expose weaknesses others couldn't even comprehend. With this knowledge, I trained harder, fought smarter, and rose higher. Monsters fell not just to my blade, but to my understanding of how they lived, breathed, and fought. Slowly, people began to realize my true worth, though my old party never could. They had thrown away someone who could have been their greatest asset. I became feared, not for overwhelming might, but for the wisdom that turned every battle in my favor. They called me useless, but in the end, my so-called weakness became the key to becoming stronger than anyone else. I wasn't cursed. I was chosen. Next up at number 8. Number 8. The brilliant healer's new life in the shadows. I once dedicated myself to healing, pouring everything into keeping my companions alive. Yet they called me weak, nothing more than a burden. When they cast me out, I thought my journey was over, but exile became my rebirth. Away from the spotlight, I uncovered the truth. My magic wasn't just for mending. In the shadows, I discovered a brilliance I never realized I had, bending healing into a weapon, amplifying my strength and striking where no one expected. Alone, I honed my craft, moving unseen, eliminating threats before they could even scream. The healer they once mocked had become something terrifying, a force hidden in darkness, yet brighter than ever before. I no longer needed recognition or their approval. I chose a different path, one where my strength was mine alone. Banished as weak, I embraced the shadows, and in doing so, I became unstoppable. Now, those who once scorned me tremble, for I am both healer and executioner in one. Moving forward to number 7. Number 7, backstabbed in a backwater dungeon. My comrades lured me deep into a dungeon, only to betray me when I least expected it. Their blades cut not just my flesh, but my trust, leaving me broken and left for dead. Yet the dungeon didn't become my grave. It became my crucible. In the darkness, I discovered new powers, ones born from pain and desperation. Every monster I faced became fuel for my growth. Every close call another step towards strength. Slowly, I clawed my way out, stronger than I had ever been. The weakling they thought they had discarded was gone. In his place stood someone forged in betrayal and battle, someone who no longer relied on others. When I finally emerged, the world saw not a victim but a warrior who had survived the impossible. Betrayal had nearly destroyed me, but it also unlocked the strength I never knew I had. Now, those who stabbed me in the back will see what true power looks like. Coming in strong at number 6. Number 6, Arifureta, from commonplace to world's strongest. I was just an ordinary boy, nothing special, thrown into a world of magic alongside my classmates. While they flourished, I lagged behind, mocked for being weak and useless. But everything changed in the labyrinth. Betrayed and left for dead, I fell into the abyss, broken and bleeding. Down there, in the endless darkness, I made a choice. Either die forgotten or crawl my way back stronger than anyone else. I consumed monsters, learned forbidden powers, and forged weapons with my own hands. Each day was agony, but with every battle, I grew. By the time I emerged, I was no longer the weak boy they mocked. I was something else, harder, stronger, relentless. The world that had cast me aside now trembled at the power I wielded. I was no longer commonplace. I had become the world's strongest, and I would carve my own path, no matter who stood in my way. At number 5, we have number 5, Wise Man's Grandchild, Kenomago. I died once, living an ordinary life, but fate gave me another chance. Reborn into a world of swords and sorcery, I was raised by a legendary sage who taught me everything he knew. To everyone else, I seemed like just another young mage, clumsy and inexperienced. But when I unleashed my magic, the truth became clear. I wasn't just talented, I was extraordinary. My past life's knowledge merged with the magic of this world, giving me skills no one could match. I didn't just cast spells, I reinvented them. People who once dismissed me as inexperienced began to realize I was something else entirely. Enemies fell before my overwhelming strength, and allies looked to me with awe. Though I never asked for glory, I couldn't ignore the responsibility my power brought. From overlooked child to unstoppable prodigy, my journey was proof that even the most ordinary life could give birth to the most extraordinary rebirth. I wasn't just a mage, I was a miracle. Let's move to number 4. Number 4, Jobless Reincarnation, Mushoku Tensei. In my first life, I was nothing, a failure who wasted every chance. People looked down on me, and maybe they were right. But death wasn't my end. I was reborn in a world of magic, given a chance to start over. At first, I was underestimated, dismissed as a mere child fumbling with spells, but inside me burned determination, to live differently this time, to seize every opportunity. I studied relentlessly, mastering magic far beyond my years. Though the world doubted me, I pushed forward, turning every insult into motivation. Slowly, the boy they dismissed became someone others relied on, someone strong enough to shape destinies. I stumbled, I failed, but I kept moving, stronger with every step. I wasn't perfect, but I wasn't powerless anymore. From a jobless, hopeless man to a mage feared and respected, I carved a new path. This time, I wouldn't waste my life. This time, I would live as someone extraordinary. Coming in at number 3. Number 3, Cautious Hero. The hero is overpowered but overly cautious. When I was summoned as a hero, everyone once thought I was strange. They laughed at me for being overly cautious, for over-preparing, for refusing to rush into danger. To them, my carefulness looked like cowardice. But I knew better. Every step I took, every plan I made, was survival. And when the time came to face real threats, my caution paid off. Where others would have fallen, I stood prepared. Monsters that overwhelmed entire armies couldn't touch me because I had trained far beyond what anyone thought possible. They mocked me for being paranoid, yet it was my so-called paranoia that saved countless lives. I wasn't weak. I was simply unwilling to gamble with the stakes of this world. And as my power grew, the same people who once doubted me came to rely on me. Overly cautious? Perhaps. But in a world of gods and demons, being cautious was the very reason I became unstoppable. Now for number 2. Number 2, redo of healer. I was a healer, used and abused, treated as a tool by those who should have been my allies. They called me worthless, but they didn't see the truth. My healing could do more than mend wounds. It could undo time itself. After enduring unspeakable torment, I made my choice. I rewound the world, returning to the moment before it all began. This time, I wouldn't be their victim. I wouldn't be their toy. I would become stronger than all of them. Every humiliation, every scar became fuel for my vengeance. They thought they had broken me, but in truth, they had awakened a power beyond imagination. With my healing turned into a weapon, I reclaimed control, punishing those who betrayed me and reshaping my destiny. Banished, broken, abused, I was all of those things. But now, I am something more. A healer who no longer saves others, but who rewrites the world to save himself. And I will never be weak again. Finally, at number 1. Number 1, by the grace of the gods. In my first life, I was ordinary, overlooked, unappreciated, and left with little to show for my years. But when I died, the gods showed me mercy. They granted me a second life in a world of magic, with their blessing to start anew. At first, I seemed like nothing special, just a quiet man reborn as a child, wandering alone in the forest. People thought I was fragile, harmless, maybe even weak. But while they overlooked me, I was building something extraordinary. I discovered slimes, creatures everyone dismissed as useless, and with patience, creativity, and magic, I turned them into powerful allies. My days were peaceful, filled with discovery, yet my strength quietly grew. By the time others realized it, I was already far beyond them, living freely, guided not by greed or power, but by kindness. Banished in my old life, blessed in my new one, I finally understood. True strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's found in living happily by the grace of the gods. Thanks for watching, like, and subscribe.